What is M'Baku's overall rating? First video of the series, let me put y'all on how this works. Basically, I'm using a weighted criteria matrix, and we're going to give each character a rating out of 10 on each of those skills or attributes. The skills are backstory, role, character arc, relatability, and charisma/personality. Starting with backstory is like their origin story. It's also like their desires, fears, their ideologies and stuff. So let's take Thanos, for example. Thanos's, backstory would be basically what he explained on Titan, that there's too many of us out here. There's not enough food. The fridge is empty. They didn't listen. They all died. So now everybody's gotta die. Role is about like their role in the story and how well they play it. So easy example, let's just take Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. His role is to be Goku's rival in a nutshell. You know what I mean? Like, I know he has way more like depth to him, but let's just simplify it to be that. Now, relatability is a tough one. I was trying to keep the attributes like something that I could keep objective, but relatability obviously doesn't necessarily mean relatable only to me. It's like mostly a measure of how easily I feel like you could insert a human into that into that position. Let's take Goku, for example. Not to say that Goku isn't a relatable character at all. Goku's arguably my favorite anime MC, but like a lot of times Goku does shit and I'm just like, bro, I could not imagine a human being doing that type of shit. Giving Cell a Senzu bean, like, that was crazy. And then to send his son in there to, finish the job off, like, that to me is just like, I have a hard time imagining an actual real human being doing some shit like that. Character arc or character development is more so how like the character evolves throughout, the story. That doesn't necessarily mean they got to change their opinion, but it's more so, how much their ideologies are challenged and how much you see them reflecting on, who they are as a person and the choices they made. And like an easy example of that, like Pain from Naruto. I know the talk no jutsu is low-key kind of bullshit, but bear with me. Like, we actually see him have this thought, have this understanding of the cycle of hatred, and then Naruto presents him with this new perspective and stuff, and you actually see him thinking about like, yo, like, this is how, this is the only way you break the cycle, is to, rise above and be the better person and all that kind of bullshit. Now, charisma and personality is kind of like the presence that a character has. I know it's easy to confuse this one with, being loud and expressive, but I want to like stress the fact that it's not necessarily about that. Like, if we take Levi Ackerman, for example, in AOT, he's a rather cool, calm, and collected guy. Man, a few words, but every time he's on screen, like, your eyes are naturally drawn to him. Like, he commands this kind of attention. And I think that's obviously largely because like some of his scenes are fucking insane. Like, this dude, he's a bad motherfucker when it comes to slicing and dicing. But more than that, it's also because of the way he carries himself in conjunction with what he's able to do, because he's able to cut a motherfucker. Let's be for real. Here's the slight wrinkle when it comes to the weighted criteria matrix. Basically, each set of skills/attributes will have their rating, but would also have a weight attached to them. And that's because if we look at the attributes, some of them are more important to certain characters and less important to others. So the weight will be more so a measurement of how important it was for that character to have that attribute within the context of the story. Like, it would make no sense for us to tank a character's rating if they did poorly in an attribute that doesn't matter, is just not relevant to the character. For example, let's take Zuko in ATLA. Zuko goes from one side to the complete opposite. We kind of need him to evolve internally to justify basically why he decided to go from being the Fire Nation patriot, like the Captain America of the Fire Nation, to, being, the force of balance and equilibrium with the Avatar. So like his weight for a character arc would be rather high. On the other hand, take a motherfucker like the Joker, bro. Like, the Joker's role in The Dark Knight is supposed to test Batman's, resolve and to test his limits for his ideology and principles, right? We don't need the Joker to find Christ. It's like that shit wouldn't even make any sense. He'd have a rather low character arc rating because nobody actually needs him to do that shit. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, let's start talking about MCU M'Baku. So that includes Black Panther 1, 2, the Avengers movie, like whatever you've seen him in. Bias disclaimer, I feel like it's important to have in this series. I fucking love M'Baku. Like, I deadass sometimes walk around my house going, math ha! So it's just like, yo, let's be for real. I don't think it's gonna affect anything because I'm trying to keep this as objective as possible. But for full transparency, like, I'm an M'Baku fan. Alright, M'Baku's backstory. I'm weighting it at a 5. 5's my average rating, by the way, on the 10 out of 10 scale. I gave it a 5 because M'Baku, like, his role in the story being the rival of, T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, like, I don't think there was necessarily more of an expectation for us to, like, really delve into, like, where he comes from. I think any semi-believable, backstory would have sufficed. In terms of the rating I would give him, I was gonna give him, like, an average of 5 as well, but I threw in an extra point there because I do think that they give him an extra layer of depth when we consider, like, the fact that, he does feeling like a sense of community and knowing that like he owes something to the people that he's responsible for. Like, in the challenge they fight where, T'Challa gets him to yield because he's like, yo, think about the Jabari tribe type shit. And on top of that, even when, he was reluctant to, but he did end up helping T'Challa and the royal family when it was time to, revive T'Challa because he recognized that, yo, Michael B. Jordan is wilding out right now, and I kind of need to make sure, like, Wakanda, stay safe, and that it's just not going to happen with Buddy wilding out like this. So I put an extra point in there. I'm giving him like a 6. In terms of his role, I'm weighting it at like a 7. I think like in a story about a very powerful nation and the king of that nation, I think there kind of needs to be some internal conflict, or else it kind of feels like the nation is, invincible. So I think having internal conflict was fairly important. And I think that's kind of like the role M'Baku, raises, where he has to, show that, the king, the monarchy isn't perfect, and they're kind of like from this neglected tribe. In terms of his role, like in terms of like the execution, I think Baku's eaten. It was always evident that like as much as they were working with Wakanda, they did not fuck with the Wakandans, or I mean rather the royal family. Also, like during his challenge day speech when he goes at Shuri, like I think that was a really good way to just establish, who M'Baku was as a character, and just showed like, yo, I don't actually fuck with these dudes. Like everybody's, like on their dick and shit, but like I'm not about that life. And I think like, yeah, for that reason, I think Baku 100% deserves a 9 in this category. Character arc, I gave M'Baku an 8 in this, because I think for a character that is obviously opposed by, T'Challa, but he's had to work with him at several points in the movie, we did have to see how that affected him internally. I do have to see him change somehow from being in close proximity with somebody we know he doesn't fuck with. I'm weighting the character arc at an 8 from Baku. The rating, I'm giving him a 9, because like not only did he, do the whole thing of like, I didn't fuck with you before, now I understand, like, I put my ego aside, now I fuck with you type shit, but also, with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, we did get to see in Black Panther 2 how M'Baku took on like this almost like a cousin or like stepbrother role with Shuri, where it was just like, yo, like you and I both carry, the memories of the late king, and now, we have this camaraderie. That scene, bro, that scene with him at the funeral when they're both in white, like that was so beautiful to me. Like I really think like M'Baku really showed his arc and how he used to be such a prideful person, but then, by the end of it all, like he's really about his community. Just see M'Baku being a man of the people, and how like he fully starts embracing Wakanda once like he feels like less neglected. M'Baku, in terms of character arc, 100% getting a 9 from me. Relatability. In terms of relatability, I'm giving this weight a 7. I think for a character that opposes the main character, especially a main character that we're meant to like, it is really important for us to relate to you, because we need to understand what your valid points are for disliking the character that's meant to be likable. In terms of how relatable I'd say M'Baku is, I give him an average score of a 5. Not that he's not relatable, like he's, prideful, also very loyal. I think those are really human emotions, and I could definitely easily insert a human being in that position. That being said though, they don't really explore the depth of how, him feeling neglected and his pride affects him as a person past like the first half of Black Panther 1. Now, charisma. The weight for charisma, I think, is at a 9, because again, if M'Baku is going to oppose the king and oppose the main character that we're supposed to like, I need him to be somewhat likable, and that's why his personality and charisma have to come through. And on top of that, M'Baku oftentimes in Black Panther plays a role of like, the comedic relief. And if you're going to be comedic relief, I need you to have some kind of presence, some kind of personality, some kind of charisma. Now, when it comes to charisma, the man ape, bro, my man Baku was in his fucking duffel bag. Understand this shit, bro. Like in Black Panther 1, again, the challenge day speech was peak fucking fiction. The challenge day speech did wonders for establishing what kind of person Baku was. Like making that kind of entrance, especially when Shuri was just like, yo, like we all know what's gonna happen, let's wrap this shit up. Then Baku comes in, changes the whole pace of the scene, right? Like he makes this huge entrance, which obviously makes him come off as like abrasive. The council meetings, the fact that he was willing to talk shit to Okoye, that shit was fire. Roll that clip right now, bruh.
Well, the river border has been breached. Huh? If my soldiers were present, this fishman would be bound before us as we speak.
If your muscle brains were present, they would still be there, choking on their fuzzy adornments.
You bald-headed demon.
Show some respect, you two.
M'Baku has been in his bag when it comes to like giving us some kind of swagger, some kind of sauce in his personality, bro. I'm giving him a 10, bro. I don't give a fuck. And so this is the spread I gave M'Baku. Out of backstory, weight 5, rating 6. Role, weight 7, rating 9. Character arc, weight 8, rating 9. Relatability, weight 7, rating 5. Charisma, weight 9, rating 10. And so overall, I have MCU all-time M'Baku rated at an 81 overall. I had like so much fun doing this. Like, I just love to rate shit. And I also want to stress, like, this is more so a conversation starter. And I think, like, I was talking to my brother about it. And I think this is more so a way for me to isolate and really get to see with numbers, you know, why I personally like characters as much as I do. And I don't at all think that this is an actual reflection, because, like, this is me attempting to make objective a topic that's intrinsically, you know, subjective. So I don't want people to think that my word is somehow law, but I'm really curious to know, like, you know, what would you guys have done if you had to use, you know, this setup? Like, would you guys have used different different criteria, like different attributes and skills? Would you guys have weighted it differently? Would you guys have rated it differently? And I think, I don't know, I'm really excited to just start a conversation about, like, let's try to be, you know, as objective as we can be when talking about characters that we like. So with that, the rating video is over. I intend to do, like, make way more of these. Like, this is so much fun to me. Let me know which ones I should do next in the comments if you want. If you want to know exactly when the next one gets posted, make sure you subscribe. I do post TikToks and Reels where I just kind of talk about all things cartoons, video games, superheroes, anime. Like, I'm really big on all those things. So if you just want to, like, you know, get to talk to me more frequently, like, you know, you'll see way more content, like daily content over there. And so, yeah. I'll see y'all for the next one.